Hello, Revan619 here, and we just have a fresh update for our patch 1.5 that includes a Sword of Faith improvements for VFX and also extending the range. Now this is going to be very awkward because I recorded this live and then an update to my microphone has removed my microphone from my recording software. So I'm going to have to quickly explain my Psy Assassin Heinrix build, but without the background kind of doing what I wanted it to do. So I've already put this onto the spreadsheet along with a Blade Dancer Psy Assassin build. Basically, Sword of Faith best works with Assassin. So Warp Surge Approach, being on a Psyker, covers the fact that Assassin's low attack economy. Inertia Boots covers the fact that Assassin sucks for MP generation, because obviously, unless you're a Blade Dancer. Repulse Gauntlets, along with Swift Shout Cloak, can give openings on extra turns, because you run at them and run away. Inertia Boots will only allow that for once. Notes of Weakness is also where your damage comes from. So this is going to be a standard Breakthrough Assassin build, and then it will also include elements of Sword of Faith. Naturally, you'll see 2 4 swords there, because of Shearing Strikes has allegedly been fixed with Breakthrough, and the Rock Saw is because that stacks insane damage with Kill and Edge. Naturally, you want to stack Psy rating as high as possible, cause some willpower checks, because then you can throw in Malign Influence, and also use the Death Aura build, which is going to do yourself quite a lot as you get those willpower checks. And yeah, Notes and Weakness is going to be kind of when this build comes online. So it's going to be playable with Shearing Strikes fixed for Warrior or just on a Blade Dancer. But the real power of this build is really going to come together in Act 3/Act 4 when you get access to stuff like Repulse Gauntlets, when you get access to stuff like Notes and Weakness. Remember, Inertia Boots does cancel out Repulse Gauntlets. So if you're using it for MP generation, you could always swap that to Void Veteran Boots so you can get the free charges, and that way you can abuse Swift Shard Cloak. So yeah, there's a lot of things to keep in consideration. But before you do your first critical and first proc Inertia Boots, you can use Swift Shard's Cloak to proc an insane amount of MP. So let's have a quick look at this. Like I said, the only thing that Purge Soul, which is what Sword of Faith is based on, scales from is Psy rating and obviously momentum. So Still Mind on this will allow us to increase momentum as long as using focus with all of our officer buffs, because the resolve buffs that will come in from Imperial Welders can give your resolve to them. You'll want to use stuff like Air of Authority and just every way that you can increase resolve. Master Tactician could be useful, and naturally on Blade Dancer it has the ability that on kill you gain resolve. So one of the first things that I'm going to do here is I'm going to test putting an opening on this enemy and just charging and hitting it, so you can see sort of what that is doing. So we create an opening here, and we're going to use our first charge on our first opening hit, so you can sort of see the damage that Assassin's doing before it gets all crazy with all the Death Aura stuff. We've got 22 resolve, so we will probably before the end of this turn want to increase that. But every time we use a Psycho Power, because of stuff like Burning Blood, Backdraft, and all, and as you can see here, yeah, our Death Aura build already hit the opening, so that enemy's practically dead. And again, we didn't even get to hit it before it just died, just moving in there. Death Aura is strong, by the way. So yeah, Death Aura in itself will naturally kill everything, and then you'll actually have the Force Sword come in and do some extra stuff. Now, hopefully the developers have fixed Sword of Faith. Sword of Faith was bugged. Second casts were not increasing the damage based on your resolve. I probably won't be able to test that live right here, because I reckon everything will die before I can get to a round 2. So just to show off some of what I'm talking about here, my plan is to use Breakthrough here. So I'm going to create an opening on the boss, because as I walk near it, it's going to hit that opening and it's going to move it to the back of the boss. And yes, then I'll Breakthrough, because Breakthrough hits the back, so you want the openings on the opposite side of you. So this is another way that this is useful, because as you can see, it hits the boss and the opening gets moved to the back. Next, I'm going to buff. By doing buff, it does damage to the boss, but I'm doing it on this side of the boss because I don't want to kill it. I'm not sure if Pyromancy will apply to Sword of Faith, but it will apply to my Shearing Strikes, and Orchestrate Flame is also because it gets my Psy rating up with Relentless Blaze. So I'm just going to buff myself up nicely here. So I've got all my buffs on here, and as soon as we get through to enough points, we will test see if Shearing Strikes is working. Because I have the Inertia Boots, probably won't notice it, because I think Inertia Boots counteracted the fact that Shearing Strikes was consuming MP, so I'm just going to trust the devs for now. So 2600 health, going in with that Shearing Strikes. Not the best damage in the world, but Shearing Strikes isn't our main damage tool in here. It's what you use at the start of the battle to remove health, because for Killing Edge to do more damage, you need to remove basic health. So you're going to move around the battlefield, Shearing Strikes in everything to build up all of that, and then you're going to use your main attack with your Killing Edge, and you're going to use it with a Rock Saw. But as you can see me going through all the damage numbers here, just by me doing that initial shearing strikes, there is a lot of procs of damage here and ways to increase my lethality. And this is all going to be boosted by notes on weakness. So there's a lot of damage boosters all coming in here for this, which is going to be pretty nice. And just naturally, I'm going to have over 110% armor penetration because of Blade of Light stacking with my psi rating, which is probably going to be 10 or 11 if Shimmering Emulsion's in effect. I think it'll be 10. If I get a kill with the offhand on that Shearing Strikes, that's how it becomes 11, if I recall correctly. But yeah, so as you can see, Blade of Light's coming in here, Desolation, Eternal Glory, Blade Flurries all popping up in there, and all my other little modifiers. So we're seeing a lot of increases to damage, because you've got to remember that Shearing Strikes and Blade Flurry, or Breakthrough, well, Slash in general, is just a much, much worse version of Death from Above, which is why this build is going to be stronger on a Blade Dancer. So I could move around and slash all these enemies. Hammer of the Emperor, I think, so Reckless Strike and Hammer of the Emperor, if you weren't using Shearing Strikes, by the way, they don't get consumed by slash, but it will get consumed by everything else. Death Whisper will add in another option of attack, but the thing I want to show here is Killing Edge with the Rock Saw. Each hit will increase the next in damage. I believe the boss died in the first hit. But as you can see, the first hit on that Rock Saw Killing Edge doing 1500 damage, and that will cause each follow-up of the 4-hit burst to do more damage because each hit of Killing Edge applies to each hit of the Rock Saw. So each, as the boss loses health, will increase the damage of the next one. It's how you used to be able to do some really insane damage to the Shard. It's before we had access to Executioner, it's probably the highest way to do damage. But let's have a look to see these new effects. So as I use Sword of Faith, we now have ourselves a glowy fire sword, which is nice to see. And we also have the basic Purge Soul ability, which is going to be the single hit. We've got the area version of Purge Soul, which will probably cost 2 AP. The reason it's all super low at the moment is because Fire Within probably procced. Fire Within, yep, every time we get criticals and kills, it will give us free attacks. But as you can see, the formulas are the same. They have not updated Purge Soul. So Purge Soul was previously the worst ability in the game, and it's probably still the worst ability of the game. But now we've got a Line of Flame and a Cone of Flame abilities in Sword of Faith, which do seem to be working with the Purge Soul effect. So it'll be interesting to see how Killing Edge and they all apply to each other. And I've just noticed it didn't consume our second weapon, so we could still be using Shearing Strikes with this, which is very, very interesting, because Shearing Strikes counts as a power, so that will actually proc Backdraft and all sorts of fun little effects. But if I move behind this enemy here... But I don't think we can use the offhand, because now that I notice it, it does appear to have disappeared. But I'm just going to position around, and yep, we've got our beam that's coming in here, and that will naturally proc backdraft to enemies that are close. But yes, some pretty good damages coming in here. And of course, criticals here will work for inertia boots to give us MP. Because at the moment, yes, that should be applying to most things. Now, powers can't crit, but powers from weapons like staves and obviously Blade of Light can crit. So that's a way that we can benefit from all these critical source damages. And of course, our Assassin's Lethality is applying to all these direct damage procs. So there is a lot of things going on here. But I think that 31 fire damage is probably going to be our Orchestrate Flame. Our Orchestrate Flame, because obviously we don't have Inflame or an Executioner, isn't going to do too much. But let's see what else we can do with some of these if we move around. Now, the biggest problem is we actually need to kill to generate MP. So the fact that things are dying by us walking at them with the Death Aura is a bit annoying and counterproductive to this showcase.
Get me a target.
The good part of the fact that we've got a bunch of ranged attacks is I should be able to get him from up here, though the other enemies are out of range over there. So we'll try that big new sweep attack. Very, very nice. It looks cool. It looks really, really cool. The biggest problem you can see with this build is it's so powerful, you're never really going to get an encounter where you get to use it to its full potential. Because most things die just by me walking near them, let alone me actually trying to show off what the abilities do here. I imagine the only showcase where I could actually show you some of the real damages would be me doing this to the end game boss, but obviously some people aren't going to want spoilers. I did have a whole disclaimer at the start of the video on the original recording about disclaimers, but I realized that re-recording this live, I have forgotten to go back over that. Now, the other issue is some of these ranges. So I'm going to try and get into range so I can actually use my abilities here to move. You've also got the fact that Warrior, you can generate MP on kills. Naturally, everything dying by me just coming near it. So I'm actually going to go to the battle after this to show a little bit more so we can see how Killing Edge interacts with it. GG. Okay, so coming over in the next encounter, we'll show you more about how just buffing can take out the battlefield. If you use Litany of Imperium Fury, it will be like battlefield wide. So if you use that in your Rogue Trader, Heinrix as this assassin build can map clear, much like the old Executioner Inflamed did, just by buffing. So yeah, that build is technically back because you put Litany of Imperium Fury on your Rogue Trader, and then yeah, Heinrix just by using his buff powers will wipe out the map. As you can see here, yeah, we're doing a lot. So this is from the Bring It Down turn, and I was just using this to generate some extra MP. Moving over to the boss, we can use a Death Whisper for the extra attack. We can use off or main hand, doesn't really matter. If you use it with the Rock Saw, you will get multiple hits. And then if I give him a proper Bring It Down, now you're going to watch as I buff up here to get ready, all my direct damage procs, because I'm an assassin, so that's why this is called the Psy Assassin build, it will just kill things that are nearby us anyway. Of course, Backdraft applied and did quite a bit of damage to the boss there just by me buffing. And I've killed the boss without ever attacking it by buffing. My sheer aura farming has killed the boss. But this does present the issue that I, again, might not be able to show off what I wanted to show off with just some of the damages of the actual Blade of Light, because everything's going to die. Well, Blade of Light, Sword of Faith, shall I say. Flash, when you're not using, you get 5 of these. Very good for not in these encounters here. And Scorcher can reset some of your used abilities, like your charge. So you can use charge with breakthrough this way. But yeah, most of your things, you're probably not going to get a chance to use them. Of course, Scorchers you can get more of. Flashes are limited to 5. Also good stuff like Pascal. And again, we've killed the enemy before the charge had even hit him because of the Death Aura. Maybe for future tests, I might have to weaken my build intentionally so I can show more of the Sword of Faith. As for the casting damage, yeah, it's going to be okay. It's not going to be the best because obviously I've not swapped to a staff to do that. But yeah, this again, it's obviously the build's not focused on having really high willpower or psi rating for range casts. But you can still pick off a few things just to generate what you need to be able to use stuff like Blade of Light or even to reuse Daring Breach. So the plan here is I want to try and get around to the top to try and hit the enemy up here. Again, naturally, Daring Breach is fantastic with this build. Look how much MP I just gained. Things dying by me just walking near them. But he did survive, so I can show off a Killing Edge hit on him here. So yeah, we'll swap over to the combat log. And huge damage. He dies. It would do area-based damage on Backdraft as well if there was more enemies alive here. But yeah, it's a lot of things are preventing us from showing the full might of this because they all die too much. And yeah, you can see all the different procs we're getting. Lethality is going to hit to 1,000 very quickly. You'll actually notice that because lethality stacked at 1,000, the top end of what you can actually do with this build is very limited. And probably Rocks or Killing Edge will actually vastly out-damage than anything you're actually going to do with the Sword of Faith side of things. So the way I've designed the build is to get the Sword of Faith in Act 2, so you can actually get your most mileage out of it, and then you'll be able to enjoy it using, you know, your breakthroughs and whatnot. Naturally, Inertia Boots, like I said, will cover up the weakness of MP generation, so it'll keep Assassin Warrior more viable, but Blade Dancer probably doesn't need those boots as much. But as you can see, look, so here's all the damage coming. The base 1 to 4, then you got Blade of Light coming in, Desolation's coming in, Sword of Faith's coming in, Notes and Weaknesses coming in. So agility-based assassin, you're going to get a lot out of it. And then all of your critical damage stuff is then applying to your direct damage. So again, this is why these powers are really good, because normal Psycho powers don't get these critical damage things because they can't crit, whereas Sword of Faith becomes a weapon attack and can, so it does benefit from all of this. And of course, like Backdraft will proc, Burning Blood will proc, so you're going to be getting a lot of things that will be coming in and building up your lethality, and especially with Malign Influence, and then also with the fact that you're using everything on top of that, so Notes and Weakness will all stack on top of that. This is going to be one of the strongest possible builds in the game, and it will trivialize any encounter. It just gets online a little bit slower than Executioner. Yeah, so that 44 resolve, if we could get to a turn 2, I would like to test, see if that's working for Sword of Faith, but there's no way I'm going to be able to get to a turn 2 now, is there? Yeah, all of these enemies, I think this enemy's going to be die without me even getting a chance to attack. Yes, Ice Spinner's armor and everything else just trivializing. But let's have a quick little look at the spreadsheet, and I'll talk through some things. Whilst this is not a full build showcase, yes, Shearing Strikes are working. So the Heinrix Warrior Shearing Strikes build is on here. You can convert this almost 1-for-1 for a player build, though you won't get the Biomancy aspects. And I also have a Psy Assassin Blade Dance on this. You'll find this under Heinrix the Psy Assassin. But yes, early game, Shearing Strikes, Desolation, Blade Flurry, Blade of Light, and all that goodness. Going into Assassin, you will get a lot of uses of openings out of Create the Openings. I don't know if that works in extra turns. I haven't tested that yet, but it'd be good to see. Imminent Demise, you could actually switch with Perfect Opening, so I'll probably put a marker on that, because you want to get into Lethality Heightens, Disarray and Seize the Advantage quickly, because that will obviously enhance your lethality, and that means that your killing edges will be doing a lot more early on. You can use this with knives as well, because you could offhand a knife with killing edge, and even offhand the Interrogator's Dagger when you get it, because it will have a lot of ways to proc some willpower checks. But ideally, with Sword of Faith, you want your 4 swords out when you go to that, because then all your bonuses like Blade of Light will then apply to Sword of Faith. I'm not sure if the passives of your Psycho Swords will apply when you have Sword of Faith. Again, that's going to require a little bit more testing, just like with if second cast of Sword of Faith will apply. Now, Destroyer I get early for when you fight your mirrors, but you can always swap Destroyer and Eager for Battle around if you want, which is why they have those little asterisks. But stuff like Lethal Concentration, you can only take it in tier 3. Stuff like Crowd Kill will apply to all of your area attacks, and because of the powers do that, that's very good. You can take Death Whisper or Dance Macabre. I prefer Death Whisper instead of Dance Macabre. Still Mind is going to be very helpful for turning buffs to your willpower into more resolve, so it will help this build stack up. And then obviously Peak Condition and Fire Within is going to be very important. When you're looking at this build, the best thing to consider is going to be where your different breakpoints are. So around level sort of 20 to 21, you're going to be fighting bosses like the Forge Fiend. Around level 30, you're going to be going to Kiva Gamma, so you're going to be fighting the bosses there. So you're going to want all of these things online. And like by level 40, you'll be fighting your mirrors. That's why we want that Degrade Defense and the Backdraft in there. And like I said, you can switch between Dance Macabre or even Death Whisper, so it's going to be a little bit more to your playstyle. But the things to keep in mind when you put any build is level progression. So like I said, by level 21, you find the Forge Fiend. So level 21, 22, you want that to be your first breakpoint, with obviously the one before that, Aurora at 15. By 30, you want your build to mostly be online, so you can be fighting Cubis, so the Fabricator. Then by level 40, like I said, again, you're going to be fighting your mirrors. And then at level 50, you're going to be fighting Urlon and Daybreak. So there's no point designing a level 55 build to be trying to fight encounters that you're not going to have access to all that to. And the reason Burning Blood comes in at level 43 and Blind Influence level 44 is that's going to be around the time you get Notes on Weakness, by the time you've got enough Fender rep together to be able to buy it. So yeah, by level 44, this build becomes unstoppable, and before then, it's just quite an enjoyable play to have. I still think the Blade Dance version is going to be stronger, because obviously you can build Resolve in each kill, and it'll be online much earlier. But this one, by the time you're at level 55, they're both going to just instantly breeze through encounters, and having access to Rockstar Killing Edges means even if you edited like a boss health to 1,000,000, you'd probably still one-turn it anyway. But Orchestrate Flame, not going to be adding too much to you, but it's mostly just so you get Body of Flames and Relentless plays for the end game, because it's just a nice little extra. We don't need it. The only thing that we're going to see that on is in Act 5, and at the moment there's no Act 5 content, so until we get DLC 3 and 4, we don't know if there's going to be any challenges for this to overcome, but as those acts get filled in with future DLCs, we should be seeing a lot more of it. But yes, for people who want to try a different build on Heinrix, we've now got the Sword and Shield buffer. We've now got the Sword of Faith Sire Assassin build. We've got the Executioner with Rock Swords. So yeah, there's many playstyles you try out. I've even got a Force Sword and Gun build on here, even though that's definitely the weakest. It always is. But I hope you found this video helpful. I hope you're going to enjoy it. And let me know what your thoughts are. I'm off this weekend to Norway, so I'll see you all Monday. I might be streaming today at some point too.